gentlemen, welcome back to the Bizarre Briefing. This is the December 2019 edition of the Bizarre Briefing. It's technically 2020, but as you know, we use magazine counting for... We talked about the previous month, so that's why this is the December 2020. Hello.
True.
Bryce Castillo, joined as always, Brent Hughes.
Hi, that's me.
Jacob Merrill.
Hello.
And John Ryle.
Hello.
This is the behind the scenes.
Ryle.
Every time I say that, you always mention that that's not how you pronounce it at all.
I don't pronounce it the correct way, so it's fine. However you guys want to say it.
And this is the behind the scenes podcast, all about the stuff that goes on at the various things that we do here. Modern Rogue, Scam Nation, formerly Scam School, Scam Stuff the Store, all the podcasts, Night Attack, and Court Killers and Weird Things. Hello, everybody. Welcome to 2020.
Yeah.
Yay.
We made it.
Hello.
Uh-huh.
Most of us made it.
Most of us made it. Yeah, David did die, and so that's why he's not here this month. No, he's actually here. He came. He's here, and he was like, "I'm going to be here, but I'm not going to be."
He's waiting for John to leave. I think they have like a dispute going on.
Yeah.
He's my tag
Let's get
team
that
partner.
rumor started.
Once Brandt wears
They
me out,
hate
I
John.
tag in David. And
Well, hello everybody.
Blood feud.
Hello everybody. Let's get started here. A little bit of an update to last episode. Brandt has now formally moved into the headquarters.
Yay!
How is that going?
It's going all right.
Yeah.
It's, any situation, any situation is going to have its ups and its downs. So a couple things, the weird thing is sometimes you just move over stuff and things kind of break, even though you go, I feel like it should be exactly the same thing, but I'm getting like new weird bugs in Premiere, like the day that I moved stuff over.
Oh, weird.
But that's probably because I was using a new monitor. So we've got, which I don't know why that would cause the bug, but that's the only piece of equipment that's
Maybe
actually
you have
changed.
a newer update version because they just updated.
Well, I mean, this was like the night before I moved, everything was fine. And then I plugged everything in over here and then things started.
Oh, right. Because you brought that tower, you brought that doghouse PC over.
Yeah.
That's right. Weird.
Yeah.
Weird stuff.
But so I consolidated down from two 1080 monitors to one 5K monitor. So
5K. Oh, I knew it was 4K.
Yeah. So
it was 5K.
It's 5K and it's 21:9. So
ultra wide,
slightly wider than 16. And yeah, so there's more resolution just by a raw pixel count. But you don't have the bezel and everything, and it's weird because I'm so used to like snapping programs to sides of monitors and stuff, and having clearly separated. Like I'll be working on my right monitor and my left monitor will be Spotify or YouTube or Netflix or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of an adjustment there, but it's not too bad.
You got a new keyboard as well.
New keyboard.
How's the new keyboard treating you?
It's interesting because it's a 65% keyboard. It's the drop alt, so you don't have the function row, you don't have the number pad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you don't have the like 6 keys above the
insert home and such.
You've got like 3 of those. 6.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I really like how compact it is. It feels nice.
Yeah.
But the biggest adjustment for me is definitely using the actual number keys instead of using the numpad.
Right. I'm surprised you opted for a keyboard for a compact keyboard at all.
Well, I mean, I wanted to experiment a little bit and sort of get out of my boundary of big full size keyboard. And there are like function keys, so there's another layer down and you can program all the keys to be what you want.
Oh, okay.
So it's like if something is missing, you just press the function key and press another key, and it works out.
So along with this, you are now the room that you are moved into is the room that John is also editing out.
Oh yeah.
Formerly the equipment room. The equipment. This is no one. We have no photos of this in the chairs, but the equipment has now moved one room over to the green room.
I did that.
Yeah. How is sharing a space, because sharing a space, it's not always easy. At my last job, I actually, granted this was a very small, it was like 3 people, but I shared a relatively big room with my boss. We were separated by whole filing cabinets, but at the end of the day, it's still open air. It's still like both of our rooms. Right. How was it being, back to back? No, front to front, back to back, face to face with John in the same room.
Well, we can't actually see each other. We have to. That's the one awkward thing in my mind is like every time we want to address one another, we have to stand up.
Oh, okay.
Like, hello, Brandt. Hello, John.
Yeah. It depends on the day, I think. I will say, John has been very conscientious about not doing things like clipping fingernails, which we discussed last time, and I deeply appreciate that.
That's what was going on all day when he's not around. John was just clipping nails.
So I haven't seen that, so that's been very nice. But sometimes it's like I use my headphones a lot more than I used to.
Ditto.
No,
I was like maybe Brandt won't appreciate The Sopranos blaring on the TV while I'm editing.
Because John has always got something playing in that room when it's just him.
So does Brandt.
I just know that sometimes I walk in and John's like editing or rendering something, and he's got like Inception playing on the TV, and he's blaring drum and bass.
So yeah, it's weird because I definitely prefer to have kind of an open air speaker kind of situation.
Yeah, of course. Because that's how most people will watch what we watch. More, I would probably say 75%+ of people will listen not in headphones or earbuds.
Sure. And so yeah, that's a bit of an adjustment. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to address certain things. So it's like, if I need somebody to do something, whether it be John or Brian or whomever, I could post something in Slack, but it feels like nobody here sees Slack comments as actionable. But if I'm like here and I tell you to your face, it's a lot harder to ignore that. And so it's like, okay, I can like pressure them, and I feel like something will get done a little bit more easily that way.
I am only here 2 days out of the week for podcasts, and then I'm still editing at home. And I'm here for shoots when we have shoots here. And I am surprised at the number of times there have been things like that of just yesterday at the end of the podcast days, John and Brian and I were just kind of hanging out, which Brian and I have done for just, I mean, we do it occasionally, but now that like HQ is kind of built out, we have been back to doing that a little bit of just like, talking, chatting, getting to catch up with each other. And little stuff like that it feels like there is way more of that than I initially expected, even for me, who is not here nearly as much. I mean, even like someone sent a very nice friend and fan sent in a Christmas card to me, and Brian was able to go, here is a mail for you. Stuff like that, getting the lowdown on what's been going on. It is nice to break out of the Slack those times, though it does make it tough sometimes because we still need Slack. We still need, I'm only here a couple days. Jason is sometimes here. It sounds like we're trying to find a place for Jason here. If Bonnie is chiming in with stuff, there's still a remote element that almost gets a little lost if more people are here.
Sure.
Not that this is a crisis, but
I will say for my sake, like our hashtag the privilege of being here has sometimes meant I don't check Slack very often, because I'm so used to Brian just having constant access to me. So if something needs to get done, he'll tell me. And now Brandt's here, so if something needs to get done, he'll let me know.
You don't have like a Skype or Slack alerts? Like
I do if people like at me, but sometimes they don't at me. Sometimes they just make a general announcement or a general whatever.
That's crazy to me.
I mean, I have some channels that I don't get booped on. So like the Scam Nation channel, like a lot of times, you know, right before you guys publish, it's like, here's all these messages about what the title should be or whatever. And it's like, I don't need any of that.
Weird.
But then everything in general, random, modern rogue, all that stuff, I get notifications on.
Yeah.
I think the only one I don't have them is for the random channel. And everything else I do, because if it's modern rogue stuff, then it's usually about a shoot, which I tend to go to. Scam Nation stuff, obviously.
Right.
You know, equipment, scheduling, whatever. Interesting to know. Okay. I'm learning something.
But it has been nice having Brandt here, because there's sometimes where, you know, like he'll tell me to do something or he'll ask me to do something. And I'm like, no, Brandt, get over here. Is this what you meant? Specifically? And you know, just that immediate, instead of like a week later, it's like, no, that's not quite what I meant.
Now, Brandt, I know, you know, a lot when we were talking about you moving in a while ago, one of the sort of pluses of it was that you kind of were doing an off sort of schedule, a very evening and late night heavy circadian rhythm. But I know you've talked on this program before about being on a more typical sleep and working schedule. Where is any of that lining up much in terms of your being here?
So the interesting thing about working out of here, and it's something I kind of expected, is that, you know, a lot of habits are kind of motivated by certain things, certain needs or whatever. So like when I go to sleep, that was a big one. It was always motivated by, I always want to go to sleep before sunrise, because once the sun comes up, it will be much harder to go to sleep. Even though I've got like all my windows all blacked out and everything. It varies.
It is very difficult.
Yeah. So for me, it was always like, well, I certainly can't stay awake longer than 6 a.m., which means if I'm working throughout the night up until that point, I have to at least start at, you know, whatever time. And that kind of guides where my schedule lined up. Whereas here, you know, a lot of times I will eat fast food or something. Well, all fast food places close at 10 p.m. So I need,
especially out here, which is very suburban area.
Yeah. So if I happen
which is weird, because in my mind they all close. If they close at all, it's at midnight or 2 a.m. Because the place is near me.
See, and there's some places around here that literally aren't even open until Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, those are for like fancy.
No, like barbecue joints.
Yeah. This is Austin.
Oh, fancy. Sorry.
Yeah.
Fancy for Austin.
Yeah.
So
we take barbecue seriously, but they need those days. They need those dark days.
So like if places close at 10, then it's like I need to be out of here like kind of no later than 8:30.
Yeah.
Or so.
Light,
yeah. And also being in a different location, I immediately want to leave. Like the second I get here, I'm like, I wish I was at home. So it's like, okay.
Which is how you get more like, like that's a motivator, you know? I mean, when we come to shoots, that's very often like my headspace of like, let's get the fuck out of here.
Right. Yeah. Or like back when I did a work out of Brian's house, I was like, I really don't want to be here. So like, let's get this done. Let's go.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, if I have to leave by 8:30 or something, I can't really justify getting here any later than 1 or 2 p.m. because I need to get a decent amount of work in. So if I need to get here by 1 or 2 p.m., then I have to go to sleep by whatever time. So that way I wake up in time to get here by that time. So I feel like over time I might dial it back like an hour or two earlier, just because I feel like that would be like a comfortable rhythm for me to maybe show up here at noon, maybe at the earliest like 10:30, but probably like 11:30 noon.
Yeah. A very comfortable coming into work.
Yeah, really comfortable, but also like I don't really want to get out of here at 5 when there's a bunch of traffic out in front of the place or whatever.
Yeah. The road in front of here is fine when there's no traffic, but Good golly.
When it backs up, it's a mess.
Yeah. Especially if you're coming in from the other side and trying to cross the other lane, because there's not a light.
Yeah, so I feel like the one thing at the very least, it's regulated my schedule in such a way that it's not so variable.
Okay.
Because in the past, there might be days that I go to sleep at 6 a.m. I might go to sleep at 4 a.m. I might go to sleep at 11 a.m. or something. And so it just kind of went all across the place. And there would be a lot of days where it's like, okay, it's Thursday night, the episode's not done, and I just need to work for 20 hours to get it done. Now that I'm here, I feel like so much more empowered to say, nah, I'm good. I put in my 7-8 hours today. I'm just going to go home. And if the episode's late, then the episode's late. That's just what it's going to be. Are
you finding that's causing you to put some of that time in earlier, or making you able to put any of that time in earlier in the week?
Well, so right now,
granted, it hasn't been that long.
Yeah, we are in week 2 of me doing this.
You've only been here 2 weeks?
Yes.
Holy shit.
Less than that.
Yeah. So it's tough to say, because it's also like, I used to have certain benchmarks or milestones in my week where I go, okay, Wednesday night, I should be at this point in the edit. But with my schedule being broken up a little bit differently now that I'm here, it's kind of tough to say exactly when I'm behind and when I'm ahead of where I should be. But I do feel like I generally get more work done a little bit earlier being here.
Good.
Just because it's like, it's a little bit more focused on the attention, because when you work out of your home, it's
no rules.
Yeah. And it's also like I both end up working literally all the time and never.
Yeah.
And it just like it mixes in such a bad way.
Well, I am glad to hear that seems to be your initial sort of impression of working here, because I know you. We've been doing this show and just like working together for a long time, and those marathon editing days for you are not good. They'll catch up to you.
Yeah.
And I certainly have that of my own, where there's probably stuff that I would be more efficient doing if I had a more regulated schedule here, or but like it was to another level for you, and you need a separation, So I'm glad to hear that.
Question for Brandt: since you've been working here, have you been hitting the bench at all?
A little every now and then, just to kind of, sometimes it's good to, whenever you've been editing for 5-6 hours straight, to like get up and get moving and get the blood flowing and everything.
Ideally, you should do that every hour, but
me and Brandt are getting jacked this year.
So yeah, there's a bench and a free weight set here. Okay, interesting, cool.
But yeah, it's working out all right so far. I do have to be around people, which I'm not super in love with, but so far it hasn't gotten too bad.
Good. Yeah, we haven't had many like guests or anything.
And I've been playing, in fairness, I've been playing a lot of Brian Brushwood D. A lot of like Brian will come in and be like, guys, I got to think out loud. And I'm like, over here, Brian. and he'll drag me off sometimes. And like last night, we watched the entire first season of Infinity Train,
Which sounds like a lot, but it's like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It's a short cartoon network.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm sure we'll hear more about it as time goes on. Quick update on Instagram. Congratulations to the Modern Rogue Instagram. It hit 10,000.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Which means now that in stories, people can swipe up to see specific links. We can actually create links now.
We can use links. We unlocked the ability to direct people to other places.
Which is such a weird... I think I do appreciate to some degree that Instagram, for lack of a better word, is closed off in that way. Because Twitter is like all the other ones are is people wanting people to go somewhere else. Go to my thing, go to this thing. And it leads to a lot of spam. I mean, all spam on social media is about getting people to click on a link. And for as isolating as it might be to have a platform say, you gotta do it in here, buddy. It feels there's a continuance. The experience feels like, I don't know, a single moment. It doesn't feel like you're popping in and out and switching windows and stuff. So congratulations to Modern Rogue Show. Instagram.com/Modern Rogue Show.
Yeah. So far I've been doing like so far I've been doing little clips to allow people to remember that new episodes are out, and also things like first pass edits. Whenever we post something to Patreon, I want to have a little clip there, just because a lot of times if you're not in the Patreon ecosystem, you never even hear about these things that we post there.
Yeah.
So just to give like a little snippet there, and then a lot of times, I'll keep it 15 seconds or so, and I'll post that to the YouTube stories as well. So
yeah, and not that we have any motivation to do this, but because we hit 10,000 viewers, we can upload full-size videos to the IGTV. But again, there's like no monetization system there, and so there's no reason to put the full episode on.
Sure. Very cool. Congratulations to Modern Rogue on Instagram.
yeah.
John,
Yes.
in the past month, we've had another themed week.
Yeah, we've had a lot of videos in the last month, including the themed week.
This was the forced entry week, a three-day event on youtube.com/modernrogue. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about it?
Well, this, I guess I'll speak more generally about the last couple months, which have been super busy because, frankly, a lot of sponsors have just been like, hey, can you do another video? Can you do another one? No, can you do another one? And Brian's like, John. And I'm like, okay. So I hit up my pipeline. I got my editors and my audio guy all lined up, and we just started cranking them out. And that really helped for the three videos in a row. Although, in hindsight, there was a couple mistakes made. Mistakes. Yeah. There's one video where we credit musician number 1 and musician number 2.
Oops.
So that happened.
Seems like there's good SEO now for musician 1.
Yeah.
Finally getting their dues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But other than that, like I am enjoying the pipeline system more and more, to the point where now, like now that we're back to kind of a normal speed and I have to do a full video by myself, I'm like, I got to go through and trim out all the fat, all the stuff that's just kind of a waste of time for me to be looking at anyway.
Sure. So of those 3 forced entry week videos, say, how many of those were not touched by a remote editor? Were any of them not touched by a remote editor?
No, all of them were. I got a rough cut on all 3 of them.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, and the rough cut is literally just like them trimming out the fast. Here's a basic cut that is, at least 3 minutes longer than it rightfully should be. Here you go, John.
Okay, cool. And actually, I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into Scam Nation.
Oh yeah, you've dipped in a little bit as well.
Yeah, a little bit, but otherwise, like a pretty good, like in terms of views, pretty good for a themed week.
Yeah, themed week.
I know we've done more themed weeks than we have in past years.
Mm-hmm.
And what we found, especially on really long ones, that they ended up having each individual video had lesser views. Is that smoothing out now as we go to, or just normal weeks where we have three videos a week?
That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure. I feel like they do dip compared to just normal performance, but maybe not quite as much as they would in previous times.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I mean, there's always you never know what factors go into someone making a view, or giving a view to a video at any given time.
Right.
Whether it's not just thumbnail and title and how it looks and if it sounds interesting, but also, are they excited to watch a Modern Rogue video? Have they been waiting for one? Is there anticipation for it? I was watching William Osmond videos earlier today, and his videos do very, very well, and he only does a video every few weeks, right? Like he does big projects, and those are what he does it one at a time, basically, kind of vlogging-esque. It's not a vlog, but in that sort of format. And he's got a very big Patreon. He does brand deals just the same as us. But it's interesting. I think it's interesting seeing the different ways that we approach things. And granted, he knows a lot about making stuff and building stuff, whereas we're maybe a little more elementary, if that's a politic enough way to say it. But yeah, so that's 4th Century Week. Also, Brandt, was this your video?
Yes.
So we had a fun video come out within the past month on blacksmithing, making a bottle opener.
That's true.
How was that? I know that there were some hardships putting that video together.
It was it was a very long video, and
it was like 3 hours it took us to shoot, 3 or 4 hours?
Something like that. Although it was simplified a little bit because we only used 2 cameras.
Right.
Using fewer cameras always makes the edit a little bit easier because there are constantly at every second of the video you're making fewer choices. Yeah. But I think it turned out well. One of the big problems we had was the fact that one of the microphones was acting up, and so it was just constant static throughout, which people can hear in the first pass edit. Yeah. And yeah, so it kind of took some work to get down to size and to not, go deaf doing it. Yeah. But it kind of came together. I always like these videos that are really like focused on watching a craftsman do their thing. We had that with the previous bladesmithing video. Sure. And it always reminds me of Adam Savage One Day Builds, which I really love. It's just like, it's just presented as is, and it's not like overly showy. It's not Brian going wow every 5 seconds or whatever. It's just like, watch him make the thing and you intuitively understand what's happening as they make the thing.
Yeah.
And this had a little bit more involved in it than the bladesmithing, in so far as Brian and Jason made their own in parallel with Jesse, our blacksmith.
Yeah.
But it was cool. It was cool. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, to bring it back to the audio stuff, so that was a day where John was kind of caught in an airport and couldn't make it to the shoot.
Spirit Airlines, for the record. Spirit Airlines.
Always a mistake. Spirit Airlines.
Always a mistake.
Always a mistake.
Oh, gee, for the record, one of their flight attendants literally said to my face, "Nobody forced you to buy a ticket with us."
I believe it. Look, man, they're very cheap flights.
Just stating the facts.
And I'm sure, like, airport. No, we don't need to get into that. But so we were down John that day, and so we had Annalisa running audio. And I feel bad for Annalisa. We're trying to show Annalisa, who has been helping out. You might have seen her around in different videos, behind the scenes stuff. I know she was on some of the monthly Patreon video.
Right, the Monroe patron show.
That's right. And I feel bad because a lot of the times when we've leaned on her to be doing audio, she's been put into positions where she doesn't know, she just doesn't have she doesn't know when something needs to stop and be fixed, or when there's an acceptable level of, say, static or crackling, which is only a situation that we're in because our audio equipment, a lot of it is like a decade old. And it's been bumped around, knocked around, thrown around and stuff.
Yeah, go look at that fight choreography first pass edit to watch them kick around those mic packs.
Right. And and so I feel really bad because I know I tend to do the audio stuff when it's not just a small shoot. And I just feel bad because a lot of the videos that we have very much had issues with have been ones where we've kind of needed her to be on that, and I I haven't. I don't want to set her up to fail, but I haven't been able to be in a position to help her succeed.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, our equipment just shouldn't be doing that anyways.
Right.
You know.
Right. And so that feels unfortunate. I had a similar thing with an episode that I'll talk about it later. But it's unfortunate. And so she was doing the audio on that day, and so I want equipment wise for us to be in a good place, so that she doesn't have to try to solve literally an impossible puzzle. And I also take some, I take on some of the burden of that, and like, well, I helped her set that bag up, or there was probably some amount of time where I could have stopped and we could have spent another 20 minutes and tested stuff or field tested, because it's always different. It's always different from setting it up in the bag to once the cameras start rolling and people start walking and talking. It is entirely different, and it's hard to account for that except on the fly. And so hopefully we can address those two things, and we'll talk about those a little later. One last Modern Rogue video thing that we've had many videos come out the past month, but one last thing is the most recent, as of this recording, is a best of video.
Yeah, so we did like a little 2019 retrospective video. It was a really last minute thing. It was something that I suggested we record the day before we ended up recording it, which was just a handful of days before we published it. It was a thing that I wanted to do for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, we've had this weird scheduling issue with one of the Deviant and Bobek videos, where we had footage that was on a computer, and then the computer got stolen. And,
what?
Yeah. And,
I didn't realize that.
And so we were like, there's not footage for this part, which is really necessary to this one episode.
Yeah. And
then all of the Deviant and Bobek episodes after that, like, kind of build off of this information, and they kind of are direct successors to each other.
Oh, geez.
So like all of those have been pushed back, waiting for a solution to this one video.
Which is doubly tough because we were leaning on those. Before we were like filming stuff in December, those were like the majority of the things that we had in the bank,
right,
of shot episodes. So to not even be able to start those yet,
right,
is doubly wow. I didn't realize that was the issue. I just knew that we hadn't gotten the footage after that day. Wow.
But I mean, good news. It sounds like we maybe found the footage on like an automatic backup thing that happened.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So that episode will come out this Friday. All things going well. So the 2019 retrospective was a little bit of biding for time, of like, okay, we need to push out a little bit so that way Bobek can like get some equipment to recreate this footage, and we need something to go into that Friday slot.
Yeah.
And I also really just kind of like the idea of, sometimes we post so many videos that sometimes it's really easy to just remember the last 5 or something and be like, and if those last 5 didn't really resonate with you, you're kind of like, man, it's been a while since there's been a video that like really landed for me. And so I liked the idea of having a moment to take a look back at the tremendous volume of work we have put out this year, and there have been some really good moments, and I think it's sometimes easy to forget. Just it feels like a million years ago that something like Mirror Signaling came out.
Was that 2019?
Yeah. And for the record, me and my girlfriend, we watched this video. Brandt edited it, and we loved it.
Yeah. That was something where for Scam School and Scam Nation, it doesn't feel right. Is not the. It doesn't feel like a good fit to do a best of, because a lot of that is instructional.
Sure.
It's not a lot of experience-based stuff. It would be like, here are maybe funny things that people have said.
Yeah, or what do you do? Like show the end reveal of every trick, and then it kind of doesn't just make sense, or it doesn't follow right.
Right. It's very difficult. Where Modern Rogue is, I mean, I look at other YouTubers at other very big YouTube accounts and think of like some of them have, dedicated channels to doing just compilations for best of clips multiple times a year. And now with YouTubers becoming podcasters on YouTube, then they have podcast channels, and then they have podcast clips channels. So you can just get sections of these long videos, but on a different channel, and then it's weird. I'm surprised we hadn't done one before. I did the Yule log, the Modern Rogue Yule log, a few years ago as a hidden thing, as a secret hidden thing for a code for a behind the scam video. And also it was not a best of video. It was all the like accidents and flubs and stuff for just that 1 year, more or less, and looped like 4 or 5 minutes looped for an hour.
Right. So we did do something that was sort of like a retrospective. It was less like a clip show and more of talking through the state of the channel or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And we recorded that at the cigar place.
Right.
And it sort of ended with this whole look at the state of the Patreon and some upcoming videos, some of which ended up getting shot much later than we expected, and some didn't get shot at all because it just fell through. But yeah, I really kind of liked the idea of it, and I think it came together generally pretty well. The only thing I kind of wished we had gotten a little bit more into, one of the directions I kind of wanted to go for that was to like really reflect on some of the like broad sweeping directions we've gone through with the channel, and just like trying to assess decisions we made either editorially or managerially that we think worked really well or didn't work really well.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been really interesting to hear Brian and Jason talk about an episode or a style of episode or something that they really wanted to go through that just didn't end up paying off at all. I think that could be like an interesting learning experience for the audience, and just kind of seeing some of the machinations of the show and how it works. And I think they sort of relied really heavily on me to tell them what to say, which I can't really do for things that they think worked or didn't work. So I gave them a bunch of stats and a bunch of like, here are moments from the show and here things like that.
Which is tough because that video, like you mentioned, came out very quickly from the conception stage. So I think if you gave them, if they had more days to think about it and be like, oh yeah, this I can go and look and, pick and choose, that I think that experience would be different.
I also think now that we have done one, the next one will be much easier to like build off of, and for them to understand kind of what that sort of thing is. And I really also liked the idea of this being something that people could look forward to at the end of the year, where it's like, hell yeah, I get to see like all of my favorite moments that happen throughout the year in a really concise bundle, and it just sort of feels like a community togetherness sort of thing.
Yeah, very cool.
Did you come up with the title for it?
No, Brian did.
I appreciate the ballsiness of doubting the audience in the title.
There is, like I mentioned, there are so many best of formats on YouTube, or so many channels that do it, that not just calling it Modern Rogue the best of 2019 seems like a huge whiff. Seems very like the wrong thing to go with.
There are also some early iterations, because I feel like I've been very strongly blocked out of having any kind of control in what the titles can be.
Oh, really?
And it has been that way for most of the year. But he did run a couple of ideas by me early on, and like one of them was like kind of similar to that title, but it specifically called out the 300,000 subscribers that we got this year, and I was like, those are probably the people who have seen these moments the most, because they showed up watching those moments.
That, and also 300,000 is a weird number.
Yeah,
it's not a bad number, but it's not a million, and it's also not 100,000. It feels a weird.
Well, also it sort of reminded me of the one of the radio videos we did.
How many people are allowed to push?
2.7 million or something. And it's like that number never surfaces anywhere in the video. And some people are like, I literally cannot figure out where you got that number from, and it's never explained. So it's just really confusing.
Yeah. That seems like it's crazy to me that it doesn't say best of 2019 on the thing, and the title doesn't say best of 2019. That people know what they're tuning into, and they like that. That's what they want to see, you know? And so when it's like 2019's biggest MR moments we bet you missed, feels like a very passive voice. I take that back, because that's not true. It is active voice, I think. But it feels very like removed. Like I get in this headspace a little bit when thinking of like the Scam Nation descriptions, where like I don't use the first person voice very much. I say Brian is joined with these people to do this thing, because it's not Brian writing it, and I don't think anyone has the expectation of Brian writing it. Where a lot of the Modern Rogue titles are not third person voice, but a non-person voice. Descriptive. It's descriptive headlining, where biggest moments we bet you missed is weirdly feels third person. A tense that, or a subject that we don't really use very much. We bet you missed this. Feels weird. It does feel weird.
And as somebody who's been here for over a year, I will say that up until like I'd say 4 or 5 months ago, there was still moments where like Brandt or Brian would send me something that would say MR dash whatever, and I'm like, what is MR? Oh, Modern Rogue. You know?
Yeah. MR is not, we don't use, there are very few things that we use the abbreviations for, and they're almost all the podcasts.
I kind of hate that the channel name is still The Modern Rogue. And so it's like some people say MR, some people say TMR, and I see TMR, I'm like, what the fuck is that?
TMR, no one knows.
But that's that video. And yeah, it would have been cool to be like, hey, here's the best moments of Modern Rogue or whatever. But yeah, here's some, we bet that you missed out on the show. It's kind of a little bit of a weird thing.
It feels weird. It does feel weird. But also, I'm going to take us off script here just a little bit.
Oh no.
So Scam Nation, we just, our last video that just came out, the palming, a video about ways to make palming objects look more natural. That was a sponsored video, our first time having a sponsored video in a very long time. Once the domain deal ended, we kind of just were doing AdSense since then. Scam Nation doesn't do as well as Modern Rogue does. It just doesn't have the same audience. And Modern Rogue is already going through a bunch of different ad people, and so it's only recently where Scam Nation has been a little more stable in terms of views, and has is there a word for when you have a dry sponge and you put water onto it and it kind of equalizes to the right level? We've kind of resaturated a little bit in terms of our audience response. Could have gone a lot of different other ways with that, I think, but so we have an Audible sponsorship to that video, which was kind of a last minute thing. It was a similar thing with Modern Rogue, where I think it just ends up being, it's the end of the year and we have these budgets we need to finish using, and there was a number that we softly believed that they wanted that video to hit, and it didn't hit that video, or it didn't hit that number initially. And one of the things I know, especially just from hearing Brian talk about it, is when you change the title of a video in YouTube after the fact, YouTube will actively reserve that video to a select number of people just because.
Do we know this for sure?
It is, yes.
Okay. Because that also sounds like my uncle works at Nintendo, and I know this cool cheat code.
Right. there is I've seen the documents. No, we've seen statistics of this where it's like the title was changed on X day, and you can definitely see a little jump in terms of it. Not it's not like it's like putting it in subscribers' feeds, and it's not like giving people a push notification. But I think what it does is it tests the water and see if it refreshes sort of the click rate for a video. And so at some point I just did that with that video I changed it from I don't remember what it was to like Palm Objects like a pro or something. And it did get a few more thousand views in that span afterwards. And I wouldn't be surprised if that kind of became just a very casual thing that happened in terms of just this video's been out for a couple of weeks. Let's change or tweak the thumbnail and the title and see what that does for performance. Because I don't know what metric it would use to say continue to serve a video to more people more. What response it needs to like. We have the first page of this book, which is you do a thing and it will re-show it, but beyond that, the other conditions to have a video do better long term or in the short term are still a black box. So I don't know. Just a weird quirk with YouTube.
So what you're saying is, if in a couple of weeks the 2019 retrospective title mysteriously changes,
Best of Modern Rogue 2019, because that's what. Okay, back on the title thing. That's what people search for when they search for a channel. They search for best moments or.
True.
Legitimately, people do that.
If I were like, oh, I need to pull a clip from our retrospective, I would not search for moments. I missed.
Computer, what moments did I miss from Modern Rogue 2019?
Right. Yeah.
So that was just a little thing about changing titles.
I mean, luckily we have tags and stuff as well, but
yes, but also. So okay, here's another.
At least as far as like internally searching for videos.
Oh, sure. The new YouTube uploader, the new beta YouTube Studio uploader, right? Which they've made the default now, despite the fact that YouTube Studio is still an unfinished product. Part of that is this multi-step upload process. You put in a file, basic information, and then monetization information, and then last miscellaneous stuff. On the first page with the basic information, they don't by default even show you the field for tags, for keyword tags. And they have new flavor text there that says, tags may be useful if people commonly misspell a part, the title of your video or information of your video. Otherwise, they have a minimal effect, which I think is very weird, because I know when I started and I continue to do is like try to have a good number of tags. Sometimes a dozen or 2 dozen, depending on what's in the video, what people, what objects, types of things, types of effects, types of tricks, things that happen in the video that would never be caught in the title or the description, right? Someone spills a drink, there's whatever, any number of things, or things that go unsaid, like the proper names of some of these techniques. And so it's very weird for Google to say like these have legitimately a marginal effect.
Well, according to the marketing director girlfriend I'm dating now, it is kind of becoming a trend where search engine optimization is all about like, how do humans actually speak? And so tagging is kind of no longer really resonating with search engine optimization.
But that's also why we have descriptions, right? I don't put tags in for stuff that people would say necessarily, but I put tags in for stuff people might look for. Or if people are looking for a specific moment, like I mentioned, that we would never put in why would we ever say, oh, there was a fail in this video or something. And it's like an innocuous thing. But I know in my head, there have been times when I've searched for stuff and it's like, oh, I know one of our friends was in this video. Maybe I can try searching for their name. Or this was a video about matchsticks, but it never made it into the title or the description. So it's very, very difficult to look for it. I just think I just think that's weird to surface that information like that.
I wonder if, and this is probably not the case because it sounds like a good idea. I wonder if they've started taking the automated transcription stuff and feeding that into searches a little bit more heavily weighted than tags, because people probably just in mass just don't use tags, whereas at least with the...
Do they in mass not use tags? I mean, do you mean creators don't use tags?
I would just feel like users on the platform in general probably don't, although the higher end creators almost certainly do.
Yeah. I mean, but they're searching for keywords. There's search terms. I mean,
it's weirdly like because I asked her about like the Monorogue Twitter feed, for example. I'm like, is it weird that we no longer are that we don't use tags like in the Twitter feed? She's like,
different though, but yes.
Yeah, and she was like, no, it's like search engines these days are all about just regular language, and tagging and hashtagging is kind of like getting phased out.
But hashtags are different than keyword tags. I get that, but also those are functionally different things that we're talking about.
Also, Google has this thing. I know they do it with thumbnails, but I wonder if at some point they maybe roll that into just analyzing the video. But they do like machine learning to look at the thumbnail and go like, okay, here's like a list of keywords that are descriptive of the thumbnail you gave us.
Does Google do that, or is that, because I know at one point in Slack, Brian linked to or had some mention of a tool like that,
right?
But I was under no, I did not think that was a Google owned technology.
I think that's a Google product.
Okay.
I don't know that it's like fully implemented into YouTube, but I think that's a Google product.
The basic idea is you would put in a thumbnail to this thing and it would return like, hey, this feels 51% happy, 10% sad.
And here's a bunch of keywords: fire, dangerous, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Based off of just what it sees.
Yeah. So, sorry, I cut you off though. So you think that goes into...
Yeah, I just wonder if that's also some variable in there that sort of gives creator attributed tags a little bit less weight.
Yeah, weird. It's just weird.
Also with YouTube, I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, yeah, we're just getting rid of it, because I don't know.
I also think that none of it factors in. I know that there's the black box algorithm, and the algorithm is a thing, and it does do things on its own occasionally. But big data is not about, a lot of metadata and trying to curate stuff. It's about, what do people watch? What do they watch after that? And you do that 30,000 times a second, and you build paths, right? I mean, there's all this talk of like... there was all the talk of like the pedophilia rings on YouTube of people just watching all these videos of these home videos of families and kids. Mm-hmm. It's because they would click on one video, and those people had also clicked on other videos. And so YouTube saw a connection between those videos, and then it starts surfacing one next to the other, and it creates these paths. It makes like little dirt paths in the road, mm-hmm. That by their very nature of existing get stronger and stronger and stronger over time.
Strands.
That's right. YouTube is a strand game, but that's not unique or new to YouTube. Every recommendation engine works that exact same way. If it's iTunes telling you might like other music like this, or any music thing at all, mm-hmm. Movies, reviews, like all of that is just based off of, what do people who make their own connections between things, what are those seeds of data, and what are the trends between those seeds? I mean, at a fundamental level, it's that. It's not like Pandora, where someone has to sit down and say, oh, this is a 4 on the floor techno song. This is a country song by Jewel. It doesn't think that way. It just looks at these patterns. Weird.
I just want them to let me search through my captions. I want to be able to like type into the search box, doing something right counter, and then it finds the episode where they say very specifically that, because it's just all the data's right there.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Would have made the retrospective a lot easier.
So we were talking earlier about audio equipment and audio snafus, more or less. We got within the last, I think maybe at the time of the last episode we recorded it, we had just gotten, and we're just on the verge of breaking the first set of Rode Link wireless transmission microphones, wireless mics, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we've had them for a little while and used them, I have really dug this thing.
Yeah. Now that we have one that works.
When we have one that works, it is it's weird. I think it works very well. We haven't I'm not like in a mindset that we need to test it anymore. But I know,
would you be on board with getting a second one?
Yeah, I have been for a couple weeks now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But with the old packs that we have, which are older and are also an industry standard pack and more expensive because of that.
Yeah.
Because we have to like troubleshoot them, there's a lot of like doing a lot of advanced stuff with them to try to troubleshoot them. Where these new wireless packs are very simply built, do not have a lot of features or options by design, and so I'm that's the only thing that makes me go like, well, if these mess up, I don't know what I would do about it. I don't have any button that I would hit and say, let's try a different band, because it does that itself. It finds the channel bands by itself. It finds backups. It does all of these things. So that's a weird thing of the simplicity of it. But I like it. They're a new microphone pack, so they work like a new microphone pack.
Mm-hmm.
The only other weird thing about it is that it's pretty big. It is pretty big compared to the previous ones. It's probably an inch and a half taller. It's a little more thicksome, and that's because instead of having an external floppy antenna, it is all a built-in antenna. And it's made of plastic instead of metal like the previous Sennheisers that we have are. And so I wonder about durability.
Sure.
But that would happen regardless. So we'll see. Yeah, I would like to get one or two more pairs of them. I think I would be ready to make the campaign to... I've already wanted to replace our existing mic pack system. So I am on board, counselor, for trying to move the whole thing over.
Let's do it.
Have any of us edited a video that used those mic packs yet? I feel like I have not yet.
Question. Have we used... we've used them for some Scam Nation stuff, some easy Scam Nation stuff, like the palming objects. I believe it used that. And so I have edited that.
I've used them on a couple ads.
We've used them a lot on ads and billboards and stuff. We've been using them on shoots. I mean, the Pepper and Patty video just went up.
Okay.
Obviously had that. Yeah, it seems nice. Have you guys ended up using them on ad shoots or anything where I've not been there?
I have on an ad, but
it's really easy to set up.
Yeah, really easy to set up, and it either works or it doesn't. It's not like staticky. There's never going to be any like weird interference.
It's a digital signal instead of an analog audio signal, and so if it doesn't connect, then it will just blank out. So that's one thing I am possibly concerned about. I mean, we always try to have someone monitoring audio visually as well as audibly, so you would be able to see that, presumably, if someone drops out in that way.
Right.
But then if it's little bits and there's a lot of noise and maybe it keeps then, hopefully that's not an issue. That becomes a weird thing. At least with static, you can tell when something's staticking, right?
Yeah.
Especially with these things because they ramp up to like full white noise volume. So I don't know, that's a long-term concern that doesn't seem in I don't know, consideration for a long time.
Yeah. And now we also have a brand new sexy Sanken microphone.
A new one?
Yeah, we got a new one and
a third one.
A third one.
Yeah.
And the one that's being repaired is getting repaired and should be here in about a week.
Oh, that one is a new one.
Yeah, that's a brand new one.
Repaired one. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. There we go. So even more. Those are our undershirt sticky mics, so that you don't see the clip on people's collars.
Yeah. So like, if you've fans out there have been watching some shoots where it's like maybe Jason sounds a little more muffled than Brian, it's because we had to use one of the cheap like stock Sennheiser mics instead of our really nice Sanken mics.
Yeah.
Which are really expensive.
They are kind of expensive and fragile.
Yeah.
So that's that. Also, hey, for the video viewers, you might get to see this if you've been watching Night Attack or Cord Killers or Weird Things. You've already heard the results of this new product that we have. We just got a new Behringer X32 digital mixing system, and this thing is really cool.
Yeah, it seems neat.
Yeah. So it has a bunch of inputs, which is really nice. Previously, we were just using a, I don't even, it might have been 16 shared inputs between, I don't know, probably 8 XLRs, if that, and then a bunch of RCAs and quarter inches, to now like 32, like very, very many inputs. But also a lot of routing and customization options. So I can, it doesn't have to, I can change these channels to be whatever I want them to be. We have, the thing that I was really concerned about is we do the streaming and the podcasting stuff, and the podcasts end up being very live production focused because we do very little editing on them. That's how we turn them around so fast. And so, especially with something like Night Attack, we it is nice when we are able to use different channel faders for different things. Having a Skype fader, having a Winamp fader, having just the normal computer output fader. I was really concerned we weren't going to be able to do anything like that because that's not what this is built for. That's not what computers want to do. No software system in the world automatically takes a program, gives it a channel, shows it on a thing. None of them do that because they're not meant to do that. A lot of the stuff you'll see that does similar stuff will do that for like 1 or 2 things, and you have to set it up in advance, and you have to have all these different outputs from your computer. But using ACO, an ACO for all setup, and a voice meter, which is a really good donation where in computer mixer, we are able to replicate that manually to a certain degree. So we can have specifically channels for Skype. Skype goes to its own thing. vMix, which is our switching program. Sometimes we play sounds out of that. That can have its own thing. Winamp, we can really whip the llama's ass on its own channel and have a separate channel for all the catch-all, all the other audio stuff.
And I got to say, you showed me pictures of that before it came.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, cool. Like a little lap sort of. Nope. It is a beast.
It is 2.5 feet wide, 3 feet wide, maybe 3.5 feet wide. It's huge. We needed, Brian brought in a whole other table to hold it on because it wouldn't fit. It would not. It is many times larger than our previous mixer. But the things that we are enabled with it, in terms of all of that extra flexibility, a lot of the processing that we can do live with audio, like this program now, we weren't able to process any of all of the microphones going in to that mixer individually. And so this program, which went from being one of the best sounding programs on that we make, went to one of the muddier sounding programs because instead of being in a closed space, where everything just sounded nice by itself because of all the baffling, we went into this very large, sort of echoey studio space. And now every mic can have its own dynamics, compression, and gating. All of the speakers we can EQ the speakers specifically. We can mix the speakers differently. So, for example, the speaker under you guys, you may hear yourself a little bit, but I come in much louder because you guys are next to each other and you can hear each other. Whereas I get more of a flat mix over here. If we have a thing over here for the audience to listen to, they can get more of a flat mix that has EQ on it, so it doesn't ring on everything else. It was a big purchase. I definitely I like that. I like the full version. I recommended we get the one that was half the size of it. But this is great. This is very good.
We can finally cut our album, bro.
We could have done that before. I helped you do that before.
How many big knobs you got on that thing over there?
We've got, how many big knobs we go? We've got 4 big knobs.
Wow.
We've got a big knob for you. So if I'm talking, I can big knob you up like that. See, and then one for me, and then one for, we can have our own mix just for the people on Skype. So we can send them less music or less sound effects and stuff to avoid ducking issues, and then a master that we send into vMix for the actual recordings and stuff. And yeah,
that's fun.
4 big knobs. I mean, they're sliders, they're faders, but yeah. Well,
I always like those little presets where you hit one button and all of the sliders go to their own section automatically. It's very cool.
It's motorized, so they can do that. It's great.
It's so good.
I love it. So that's the new mixer. We have Mike TV and Trey Warren coming in tonight from Night Attack. And so we will kind of put it a little bit through its paces by having more people in the studio, having musical stuff. We will probably try out DCA groups, which are a whole thing in terms of...
Sounds like letters for sure.
They are definitely letters for sure. And so that'll be cool. Nightattack.tv, that'll be happening with that. Jacob.
Yes.
You are the scam stuff representative for the day.
I am.
Because as we previously reported, David did die. What's going on in the store?
Well, luckily we didn't have as much time as we expected mourning David.
Yeah.
We kind of just got past it.
We really, it's 2020.
Got a business to run.
Work, like next day.
Yeah.
But December for the store has been largely catch up. We had the whiskey bullets.
For mustard. Sorry. Ketchup?
Oh, okay. It took me a second. I was confused.
The kids, they don't like ketchup. They're all about catsup. And
yeah.
I don't go for condiments. It was the whiskey bullets and the Black Diamond box.
Right.
And
you guys actually closed down for
we did. We closed for the week leading into Christmas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because we already had so many people that had placed orders in the past that were intended for Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
And luckily we've been able to accommodate pretty much everybody that would write in and say, I need this by a certain time. But we just now got to the point where our fulfillment center has enough whiskey bullets that they're on the way out for everyone.
Oh, good.
And as far as Black Diamonds go, I think we only have like 80 left, and we're expecting a shipment of 90 tomorrow.
Okay. Wow.
So those are our 2 big ones.
And there was a whole
squared away.
There was a whole thing. I know there was an email about it, about the Black Diamond, right? Because there are yield issues. So these are handmade puzzle boxes.
Yes.
And the Black Diamond itself has a very specific margin of error when it comes to making them. And so has the price already gone up on the Black Diamond, or will it, do you know if that's yet to happen?
I think the current price is where it's expected to be.
Okay.
But I also think they're going to be more limited than most boxes. So these will at some point get to a day where we'll have to change the page to like, this is the last of it. If it says sold out and you haven't gotten one yet, we can't really do much else.
Yeah. Basically, he would make the boxes, and if they didn't fit or if they weren't right, he had to throw them away. And because they were so particular, and because there's all the lacquering and all the mechanisms inside, it ended up being more expensive, I think, than initially expected. So that's a shame to see, because the black diamond is very cool. It's big. The black lacquer looks really nice on it. So
yeah, we are currently already working on a 2020 puzzle box. I don't really know any of the specifics. I just know that it's
Join the club.
in development. It'll happen eventually.
Yeah, very cool. That's but now we're in the haze of January. We can break down the code of the year of Scam stuff. In the fall, when we say there's a thing that we're doing that we do every fall, and we're doing another one of those, it usually means we're working on a new puzzle box. And so that's what that means.
Okay.
That's been the segment. Thank
Great.
you very much for enjoying the segment.
So
Good TED Talk.
Any other store updates? I know David, last episode, teased more products coming out, but
Yeah.
what are the SS updates that people may have missed out on this year?
Well, I don't. I wasn't here last month. I don't
hopefully
know.
they're still gone. Hopefully they're still not around.
We do have one main new product that is like we actually already have them.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
I don't know if David said what it is yet, or whether or not I can say what it is.
If you don't know, then probably hold off.
So
David's always a little tight-lipped about new products.
Yeah. So
I mean, what is he going to do? Come back out of the grave?
Right.
we've
Right. He's
got
still
a
dead.
thing.
Screw that guy. No, I think he did mention last episode about there being a new family of products, but this sounds different than that. So the look on your
I
face
plead
says
the
that
fifth.
we're probably-
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know where to go with it.
Sure.
There's
cool.
stuff coming out in the
Stuff
future.
coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then fundraiser
Oh,
stuff
right.
is
That's still going on in the Founders Club?
it is still open, but it's very limited. We're cutting it off. I think I can say the number. Yeah,
right?
that number is available, and we've been in the 900s for a while.
Okay.
So
Fewer than 25 left, as according to scamstuff.com.
Oh, really? Oh, we had it on screen, I'm sure. For a moment.
reportedly fewer than 25 left.
Fewer than 25 spots left. Very cool. Join the Founders Club, scamstuff.com. One day we'll have to close it down.
Yeah.
One day.
One day we'll get founded.
I imagine we'll get to $9.99 and Brian will say, well, but someone's going to want to be 1,000.
Yeah.
and then it'll be, but we just got 1,000 of them. So, very cool. Thank you for the store update.
Yeah, and it is also still open for people if like they pledged 50 and they want to be in the $100 tier.
Oh, they want to bump up.
Yeah, because that doesn't add a new space.
Gotcha.
Like that, it would still be the same number of people.
If they were at 50, do they buy another 50 or do they just email you and figure it out?
Typically, they buy another 50.
Okay.
A lot of people will leave a note of like, "This is my second $50," but
Oh, gotcha.
I just use Google Sheets and I have like all the emails.
Yeah.
And I'll put
Please
like
do not hack our Google account.
put the newest one. Okay, so I make sure that there are no duplicates of like if
just
this
a
email
public
already
sheet.
showed up. So a lot of them I have to catch, but if people leave notes, then that also helps.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Scamstuff.com. I got a little bit of an update on Scam Nation. It has been a little quiet because as we rounded out 2019, we had a handful of shoots, but we kind of ran low near the end of December, and it's January, and we're still pretty low on episodes. We did do most recently the palming objects video, which you can see now from December 26th. That was a neat one to shoot because it was just me and Brian in the common room area of the HQ shooting this. It took us a long time to shoot it because we did a lot of B-roll footage, and it was a lot of Brian figuring out how to do a talking to the camera bit, which I think he's still a little uncomfortable with. Frankly, because he's conversational, right? Mm-hmm. He's almost always like talking to someone else, and I think it's still an adjustment. We didn't do very many talking to camera videos in 2019,
and also like for the last 10 years, he's been like so adamant about telling guests that cameras don't exist.
Yes. But then being the one to make the talking to camera joke.
Right. Yeah. And so I think there's also probably some of like that just habit ingrained in him that is hard for him to break.
Yeah. But this palming video was fun to, cut up relatively quickly. It reminded me a lot of like behind the scam videos because it was also him talking to camera and finding the good take and plopping in B-roll where need be. Relatively simple. The funny I don't know, behind the scenes thing. So very early on when he sets up the challenge, it goes to the 6-up where you see the different hands and the different objects and all the text on screen. And you see in Premiere, it's like, 1 or 2, video layers. And then for that one 4-second shot,
it's like 8
layers because everything has to be its own thing. And then the new text tool in Premiere that I don't like ended up.
The text tool was introduced like 3 years ago. So I'm like, new text tool,
right?
And it's like, right.
Did we put that?
Bryce,
did we put that on the schedule? You upgraded.
So let me talk about why we got it. So that's pretty much all I have to say about the palming episode. So the reason that I recently updated to Adobe Premiere 2020 from
1992 to Adobe Premiere
from my 2017.1 version was because I took a week. So the week before I went home for vacation for a few days, we were like, Justin was in town and we shot like 3 episodes of Night Attack in that 3-day span and went and filmed a bunch of other stuff that will probably never see the light of day or will not publicly be seen. And we knew it would be taxing, so I asked John and I got plugged into the remote editor pipeline thing and had the episode, the riddle, the 200-year, can you solve this 200-year-old riddle puzzle, was rough cut by a remote editor.
Matt David
did that. And that one ended up so it was that I picked that episode for him because there was not going to be a lot of graphics for him to do. He wouldn't have to draw out a puzzle and do lines and all sorts of stuff. Also, relatively short shoot. I mean, I think shooting that episode was probably 15 minutes or so. Very short to do because it was a very simple puzzle. It was not even like a teaching thing. It's just a riddle. And once you know the riddle, you know the riddle.
Right.
And so Matt did a very good job, doing a rough cut, giving me, cues for like, hey, you could probably do a title here or something. But that was one of the episodes where Annalisa was running audio, and the audio was pretty rough for a lot of it. So there are two shots that you can hear while Brian is reading out the puzzle. If you listen like on headphones, you can hear the difference because the room tone is different based on just the different outdoors at Moon Tower versus outdoors here. It still sounds really different.
Yeah.
So there are 2 of these stanzas that I think are 80 yard, and it did a very good job. He turned it around really quickly, which was good. I think by knowing how you guys kind of do modern Rogue, he was in a good spot to be like, okay, multi-camera stuff.
Yeah, trim out the fat. Here's the rough. With some notes.
Though I think next time I'll let him know. So we don't do first pass edits or anything like that for Scam Nation because a lot of stopping and starting and flubbing, and it's not like there's anything really you're missing when out of a cut. And so the way he organizes stuff is is probably
nest.
A little too nested for my tastes. But otherwise, like he did a really good job, and it really helped me for that week to be able to just say, like, please go do this, and I will look at it and I will finish it up. Though cleaning up the audio took a lot of extra time. Adding in a little bit of graphics, the 4-line text that comes in, building that out took a little bit of time. Though using essential graphics was easy to do. If you guys don't do that, you're crazy, because I know you guys have so many graphics on Modern Rogue. But it's easy to just make a little thing and say, here are 4 lines, and in After Effects you say, okay, let people edit this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing. And so in Premiere, you can that's where you can just put the text, and it will treat it as source text in an After Effects thing. It is really helpful, and it saved a bunch of time, so that I wasn't building like 12 different comps in After Effects and bringing in all these comps. I could just have Essential Graphics in Premiere and do the text stuff there, because it's all the same, or they were treated all the same. So that was that. Essential Sound. Using Essential Sound in Premiere. I've talked with you guys a little bit about it. Pretty good. Like, pretty good to very quickly like do some dynamics and compression on stuff after you go in and like cut or reduce non-speaking parts. Pretty good way to sort of flatly treat everything all at once. I'd say if you haven't tried it out, or for like a short video, give it a try. Essential Graphics Premiere. It's a good thing. I think that's a good thing.
Okay.
But I think I had that in 2017. I did have it in 2017.
So full circle, you had to upgrade.
So I upgraded to 2020 because David.
Matthew David, for the record. Apparently, I'm the only one on earth who calls him Matt.
Oh.
Which he doesn't mind, but he goes by Matthew.
I see.
So David.
My mistake.
David it uses 2020 or stays up to date. And so I couldn't read the file that he sent me. And because we use multicam, which is not a part of the XML standard, he could not just send me an XML export of cuts like you would if you were going between Premiere and Final Cut. So I bit the bullet and
yes.
I tried to high five him for that, and he left me hanging.
Absolutely, I did. That fucked up my week. So here's the other thing.
Let it all out.
So
Let the rage flow through you, Bryce.
So the podcast that I edit Cord Killers and I edit Weird Things. I edit them in Premiere because the timecode app that I use when I take live notes for the shows gives me a sequence with markers for Premiere. It doesn't have an audition thing. Plus, Cord Killers is a video podcast. So just do it in Premiere. It's all the same thing. But that meant updating those template files. And on Mondays, when we do all the podcasts and I publish them, there's a point at the end of the day after I've done the edits and I'm just rendering for like 2.5 hours. Just render out all the different versions and put them out. Where after the end of it and I was plugging stuff in, I didn't check the files, and for some reason it wanted to try to do hardware encoding for the rendering instead of software, and so stuff looked really bad. Like the compression looked whack. It was totally insane despite being the right bit rate. And so it was just this multi-hour thing of like, why isn't this working? What? Because in the presets, you can also say do software or do hardware encoding, and none of my presets came over from 2017, and that was really annoying. And so it ended up, normally Mondays I am done with the day at about 2 to 3 a.m. And on that Monday, it was like 6 a.m. And it was very annoying. So I'm on the 2020 train, you jackals.
Here's the question. Are you going to stick with your exact version that you have right now for another 3 years, or are you going to update when updates come along?
Not if he wants to use the pipeline.
I'm going to hold off. I'm going to hold off as long as I can. I am going to hold off as long as I can.
Or are you going to hold off until the next like big number iteration?
Well, I don't mind I don't mind updating in year. I would be hesitant to update years versus in year. I'm fine getting the new version of 2020 unless they make like a 2020.1, which is technically a different version. I'm not happy about it at all. That's where I'm at. I'm not happy about it at all. So we'll see. maybe I don't know.
Yeah, Matt was a little baffled. He's like, "What is going on?
Really?
Like, what happened to his computer? Like, is he a pirate? Like, what's happening?"
What? No,
And like he was just he couldn't wrap his mind around it.
You were not here for this. Every month, Brandt would come to this program and say, "Here's the new way Adobe fucked up the entire Creative Cloud.
Oh yeah,
Here's a new issue that I can't solve that they maybe don't even know about." No, thank you. I have to do that Monday schedule where I am done with the day at 2 a.m. only works because it is a well-oiled machine. I don't have to think about, did they treat WMVs different this week? Like, it works really well. And also, Legacy Title Designer, the old Title Designer, still whips ass, and it's insanity that they don't have
the old Title Designer was bad.
No, it was good.
It was pretty bad. You couldn't even center text.
Yeah, you could.
No, you couldn't align it to the center of your composition.
You absolutely could.
In the old title,
you're talking about legacy titles,
Legacy
right?
Title Design.
Yeah, you could. It was easier to center because it was actually built into the title thing. Now
There's a panel.
you have to scroll down to Essential Graphics to center.
It's Central Graphics. You just have a separate tab.
I do have to have the Essential Graphics always present.
Now I'm talking about 2017 Title Designer. The old Title Designer definitely does have a center button.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there were a lot of bad things about the old Title Designer.
Disagree.
I will say I love the fact that you can change a title without changing all the titles, even if you've reused the same title. Whereas like Legacy, it's like, no, that's your title card and it's in your bin.
Yeah.
And now it's
then duplicate it and make another one if you need a separate one. That's what alt click. That's what the alt drag does. That makes a separate one. There was a rhyme and a reason to the. And then we talked about that palming video. That palming video that was like 7 layers. That would have been like 20 layers if I had to use the new title thing because all the 6 different title cards.
No, actually, with text layer, you can actually have all of your instances of text in one layer.
Yep.
In one clip.
Could you align the separate instances?
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I'm not interested in that.
At the very least, now you can commiserate with us on all of the dumb ways in which it breaks.
Do you know Premiere took away MKV, motherfuckers?
Yeah.
Motherfuckers.
It ever had MKV?
It did.
Oh yeah, for like a 2-year period.
I opened a project.
2 years, but I was not.
I opened a project for the 2019 thing because I had to re-render out a bunch of videos as non-music versions, so that way I could play music over it and it wouldn't be dumb. And one of those videos, I used an MKV as a cutaway clip because I had a screen capture from OBS and it went out to MKV. And then I opened it up in the current version of Premiere and it's like, I don't know what to do with this. It's just like doesn't work.
And like you look it up and in the Adobe site, it's like, yeah, we're just no longer doing it.
Right.
Like,
which I mean, whatever. If you have FFmpeg, it's super easy to convert it to literally anything else. But
OBS remixes.
Yeah.
MKV now too. Like so behind the scenes, that's what we do. We used to do WMV for the streaming. We would just record in Windows Media Video because it was crash proof. And MP4 is not, but MP4 is very easy to edit. But MKV is crash proof.
Yep.
So if it crashes, the file still works up until where it crashed.
Right.
And you just need OBS to say, hey, just do the thing to change the title or change the container, and it works. It takes like a second. It surprisingly works well.
Also, FFmpeg, if you ever have that issue where you have to integrate like iPhone footage into a composition, Premiere freaks out because it's variable frame rate and it has no idea what to do with that. You can just type in a little command in the FFmpeg and it just spits it out to a conformed standard frame rate.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I got some third-party video converter thing that I think also does that, amongst a number of things, but like it handles that HEVC iPhone style footage.
Yeah, I've been using Handbrake.
Handbrake's fine.
I think Handbrake is built off of the backbone of FFmpeg.
Yeah, it is. So that's that. There's all over tech stuff, tech corner of the program. One last thing here in January, if you are hearing this and this episode doesn't take 3 weeks to come out, I'm looking at me. we at Night Attack are doing SF Sketchfest this year, and so I think it's the third. Let me actually see what day it is, because I think I have it pulled up right here. January 22nd, 8 o'clock to 9:30 o'clock in San Francisco. Night Attack is coming to SF Sketchfest at the Piano Fight. It's $20. Brian and Justin will be there. Guests Veronica Belmont, Anthony Carboni, and Rebecca Watson are going to be joining us, which is great. That's a great lineup of people. Anthony Carboni and Veronica Belmont are very difficult to get in contact with. They are very busy doing Star Wars with Adobe. So having them back on the show in that format is great. And as far as I know, we will be able to record it. We will be able to put it out whenever we want. As with all the live shows, people want us to stream it also. That is always the last thing on my mind. I know. Sure. For this one, we just talked to the tech people. We will have about 45 minutes to set up. I will have about 45 minutes to set up all the recordings, which is probably enough time for one person to do a 2-camera setup, plus all the audio wrangling, which is always wrangling because no house is built to do that. So maybe I will have my phone and we will do a stream. Probably not. But Wednesday, January 22nd, the tickets are $20. Please come see us.
And it's in San Francisco.
San Francisco.
Wow.
SF Sketchfest. We actually have performed. The last San Francisco show we did for Night Attack was at Piano Fight, that bar, but it was in the small front space. They have a front venue and they have an actual theater. We're in the actual theater this time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so this will be a good one to come out to. Plenty of good guests. I have no idea what we're gonna do. I never know what we're gonna do.
And they probably don't until January 21st or so.
No, about 22nd. About
22nd.
4
Okay.
5 p.m. That's when they'll decide. So I don't. I was talking to their tech person, and she was like, "Okay, so." Thanks for sending us long. Do you need time to rehearse or be in the space? It's like, I might need to talk to the tech person a little bit, but we don't have lighting cues or music cues that they would need to hit. So that'll be a fun time going out for probably a few days. I guess we need to buy airplane tickets to do that. Point.
just right on there with Scooter or something.
Yeah, that's that. We take a bird out there.
Cross country Segway.
Spend $200,000 on a bird scooter to go to San Francisco. Yep. This will be cool. We haven't done a live show in a while, so that'll be fun. Yeah, that'll be cool. And I don't know what our next thing will be because we had people asking, and I forgot to ask the guys about it, but. We did South by So Wasted last year during South by Southwest, and our takeaway from that later in the year was, why are we doing this during South by Southwest? It is very expensive and very busy and really a very annoying time of the year to do it.
Right.
And so I think the general feel is that the Austin thing that we do next time, or in 2020, will not be around South by Southwest. So if people are looking at the year, take that into consideration. I don't know what's going on with Dragon Con. We didn't do it last year. Justin went to Dragon Con, but we didn't go. So that's that podcast stuff.
All right.
Podcast stuff.
Yeah.
Let's go into some off-topic stuff. What's going on in your lives? Off topic.
I'm glad you asked.
Okay.
I've gotten into home cataloging.
Uh-oh.
And it's great.
Okay.
I've got an app on my phone and I go, here are all my rooms in my home. And then I go, living room. I've got a keyboard. Take a bunch of photos of my keyboard, and then I fill out, okay, here's the date that I purchased it. Here's the retailer that I purchased it from. Wow. This is the model and make of the keyboard. Here's the serial number of the keyboard.
Good insurance.
Yep. And then, I fill everything out, and I sometimes put down notes. So like my dryer.
Busted C2 key.
My dryer, it's like at one point I got my dryer fixed, so I was like, oh yeah, I should probably note that down. So I figured out what date I got the dryer fixed, and I was like, on this day I got the dryer fixed, and this is what the problem was.
Yeah.
And so it's like I've just been going through my house, seeing everything and cataloging all of it. And
what got you into this headspace of cataloging your home?
That's a great question. You know,
because I know you are a very fastidious.
Yeah.
You keep track of what you do every day to a very intricate degree.
Okay.
You keep a journal. You do your Hobonichi. If you did it, it's in a paper somewhere.
I would like to hope so. Sometimes I forget, but the whole idea is to have it down so that way, even if I do forget, it's somewhere.
It's somewhere. So now, what kicked this off for your goods?
You know, a long time ago, I had heard that cataloging your home was like a thing, primarily for insurance purposes.
Right.
And
which is usually just like making a text doc and getting the serial number of your television and laptops.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's just always been in the back of my mind. And then like a month ago or so, it just all of a sudden it came out of nowhere. I was like, oh, right, this is like a thing. Maybe I had ordered something and I was like, oh, it would be a good idea to like keep track of information from this or something.
Sure.
And just like anytime I have to remember when I ordered something to see if it's in warranty or something, I have to like go dig through a ton of really old emails and try to see if things match up or whatever. Yeah. And I just looked through the App Store and I was like, this seems like it makes sense. And so I've been doing that, and it's something that I try to like every week add a couple items. So I'm not doing everything all at once. But it's fun to just take inventory of things. And also it kind of gives me a sense of perspective about one, just, you know, how often I get things. It's nice to look at something and go, oh yeah, I got this like 5 years ago. I've actually had this for way longer than I realized. And also it's nice to just keep in mind, you know, if I have things in bulk, then I'm cataloging it and going, okay, maybe now that I'm looking at it, I can see that things can be pared down a little bit, stuff like that.
How granular are you going? How granular do you want to go? Because you could, I mean, if you wanted to, you could be like, I got a box of pens 10 years ago. Here's these big pens.
Yeah, so
I have 7 left.
So
because on the screen you have home cataloging, but you did call it inventorying earlier, which I think are two explicitly different experiences.
Sure. So anything,
I can't go out. I got to inventory my bathroom tonight.
So anything that's consumable, I'm not putting in the catalog.
Okay.
So if it is like a pen that I run through and throw out, I wouldn't catalog it. But if it's a pen that I keep and refill, then I will catalog that.
Okay.
So that kind of thing. But also I'm starting big and working my way down. So it's like, here's, you know, here's a bed. Like that takes up the whole room. I should keep track of my bed.
Yeah.
Here's a desk. Here's a monitor. Here's a keyboard, and you know, kind of working your way down. Usually starting with like electronics and stuff, because it's really easy for me to keep track of like where those are and where I purchased them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Home catalog.
And then also, I know why I started thinking about it.
Oh.
Because what was it, 2 months ago or something? I thought my car had been stolen because it got towed out of my apartment. And
apparently, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, there was nothing in it, so there was nothing to be stolen. But I started thinking, damn, if somebody like breaks into my apartment and steals my stuff, or if I left something in my car and it got stolen,
sure,
it would be really, really useful to have some sort of documentation and proof that, yeah, I actually owned this stuff and it was right here.
Sure. I mean, that's, renter's insurance.
Yeah. So
maybe not to that degree, maybe not that fidelity, but
that's the fun of it for me.
Okay. There you go. All right. Jacob, anything going on with you lately?
I have been recently very strongly considering trying to buy or build like a little soundproof room for myself.
Very cool. Yeah.
And I actually was just thinking that you guys could probably give me good advice on that at some point.
You know, a lot of the stuff that we record is on location, you know, where even the podcasts, this room is treated, but it's not a perfectly dead room, you know. Even the warehouse, which is very well insulated, is still not a perfect audio space. And I could probably, you know, look up and see, because there you can get, you know, dedicated padded rooms.
Yeah, I've been looking at, you can buy like a really small, like 3x3 and just build it.
Yeah. First rule of soundproofing: there's no such thing as soundproofing. Like, you just want to,
except for in anechoic chambers.
You just want to dampen as much as possible.
But also, I mean, those rooms are purpose built for that. It's not like treating. I would say there's soundproofing for a soundproof room.
Okay. There's probably
Marketing.
soundproofing to the extent of, like, I could scream as loud as I want and no one will know.
You ever see Ace Ventura, where he like opens up the door? You tell me there's not soundproofing. Ace Ventura says otherwise.
Right. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I don't know. Hit us up. We'll figure that out, because we don't have that.
Yeah, I also think it depends on the space and how you're using it. Because it's like, you know, sometimes it's helpful to have panels behind you to kind of deaden reflections or whatever, and sometimes, you know, it all varies.
Yeah, and when you're in, I don't know if you've ever been in like a soundproof or a very heavily sound treated room.
Yeah.
It's eerie. It is shockingly quiet. And not even the ones where it's like they're scientifically soundproofed and you go, and if you stay in too long, you will start to hear the blood in your ears and you will go deaf. But like, you just like,
I don't think you go deaf, but
no,
you
don't
can't
go deaf.
You can't hear the blood in yours. Watch the Veritasium video on
who's that
anechoic
boring
chambers.
Veritasium did a video on it.
Okay. Well, it's a thing.
I could probably hear my tinnitus in that room.
Oh yeah, do you have very mild tinnitus?
Every time I lay down and go to sleep, I'm like, God damn it.
Oh, weird. I'm surprised you don't have like a clock radio or a podcast or something you put on at night.
Yeah, I turn on the overhead ceiling fan so that way I can kind of hear the low wind currents.
Okay.
As someone who has it, do you ever consider like the pronunciation of it?
No.
Because I've heard people that get snobby about it.
Really?
Oh,
yeah, because it's like, apparently it's tinnitus, I think, is how it's supposed to be pronounced.
It's tinnitus.
But yeah, I've heard people be like, it's not pronounced tinnitus, and it's a big deal if you're in front of the
They can't hear me say it wrong anyway. So no, that's a weird thing. Cool. John, what's up with you? Anything?
Bought a bunch of stuff to build flats, which is not going to happen this week because I'm sick. And by the way, I'm not doing the Hollywood thing. I'm just sick and my eyes are red and blah, blah, blah.
He's got his sunglasses.
I have sunglasses on, audio listeners.
Yeah.
But I bought a bunch of stuff to build flats. This guy, Jacob, is going to help me. But yeah, me and Corey went out, and Corey's our...
he helps out with the site.
He's one of our people. Yeah. And we went out with his big ass truck and got a bunch of stuff to build flats, because we're building a set in the soundstage, just because it's a soundstage and we need a set.
Sure. We've been hearing about the flats for a long time. So I'm glad to see that they will
finally happen.
No,
the
that's
soundstage out there.
Yeah, it's the big barn thing.
Okay, see, because I still have no idea if that's supposed to be the warehouse or the soundstage.
They're never gonna get.
So this is a whole thing.
From talking to people, it sounds like
the warehouse is not happening.
That's what I thought.
Brian keeps trying to come up with all these legal loopholes. I'm like, they are never, ever, ever going to allow us.
I personally lost hope, but then
people don't get lost. So people don't get lost about this.
Backing up.
So there are weird, complicated usage. There's usage restrictions about the type of every property you get is designated for certain types of usage, and the production stuff that we do here, you can file it under one thing very easily. But running explicitly a store or a fulfillment or any number of the things that you guys do at the current warehouse do not fit at all in that. They fit under another thing, which we are not allowed to call it for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
So we got that big steel structure, which was originally going to be the new warehouse for you, Jacob and David Rowan. Rest in peace.
And then I'd like to take a little credit here because Brian was like, mourning the fact that he couldn't use it as the warehouse. And I'm like, well, that's our fucking soundstage, dude. That's our set. Like that.
Okay, but
so I have you to blame.
This is not where you want Jason and Brian doing their crazy hijinks.
I'm talking terminology. This is a soundstage. This is set up. This has been treated as if it is.
But it doesn't sound nearly as good as the barn.
The barn is a great name for that. Call it the barn. This is the thing that gets names. All of our names are fucking backwards. Okay. Okay. We have 2 warehouses. We have 2 sound stages. We've got a green room that is not even green and nobody uses, and it is now the equipment room. You guys are editing out of the equipment room, which has no equipment in it.
Everything's called Night Attack.
This place doesn't have a name. Still,
I think you can still buy the name of the warehouse soundstage barn.
That's right, scamstuff.com.
If you'd like to purchase it, probably the only restriction is it can't be too vulgar.
Yeah, I think there's probably some vulgarity, and then proper names might be a thing that we take a look at.
Yeah, the pitch is that we name it after you, the person who purchases that right.
Oh. We'll see.
But yeah, a lot of places around here is like if you're playing a competitive game and then it's new, so a lot of the locations on maps people haven't quite figured out what to call them yet. So you're like trying to call it like, oh, there's a bad guy over at the barn, and then they're like, is that the warehouse? Is that what are you talking about?
The community has not settled into the right keywords for different things.
But so my understanding is that this is podcast studio, out there is soundstage. We work in the editing room, and the green room is now the equipment room.
Saying all the good sound equipment and all the sets are here anyway.
I called the soundstage the warehouse for a long time, and then it's like, well,
it's not gonna be a warehouse.
I've heard people call this the warehouse.
What?
And that really confused me.
That's super confusing because I've never heard that.
The whole place you might call it warehouse, but Brian calls it campus, which I think is a very...
I thought this was just HQ.
Well, so I've also... You're right. Hey, you're right, Jacob. There are a lot of names, a lot of this stuff. Yeah. The kitchen / common area / there's a couch in there.
Yeah, I call that the kitchen.
Even the far side with the couch? That's hard to call it a couch.
I don't really call that anything.
It's the situation
because it barely exists.
It's not a situation room.
It's a situation room. There's a whiteboard.
It's the war room.
The
whiteboard belongs to the kitchen.
The whiteboard is
yeah.
Never heard of a kitchen with a whiteboard.
It's really just a wide hallway with appliances in it.
It is. Not a lot. Actually, not a lot of appliances.
Yeah, it has more cabinets than anything.
It has like 4 half fridges. It almost has 1 fridge.
It definitely doesn't have a stove.
No stove.
Enough, there is a fridge and freezer on campus. It is not in this building. It is in the bar.
And it's a full-size fridge and freezer.
Fridge.
Which its only function right now is to keep my giant ice cubes frozen for my coffee.
How are you going to have a soundstage without a bunch of refrigerators
running constantly all the time with ice makers?
I will say, working out of the editing room, that's one thing I'm not a huge fan of, is the mini fridge, because I do hear it, and it's just like, because I used to, back when I first started editing stuff here, I would edit in my apartment room, my very small apartment room, which I also slept in and also had a mini fridge in and did literally everything in. I didn't leave that room, and so I would have a mini fridge right next to me when I was editing, and it drove me insane.
See, I thought it would help with your tinnitus.
No,
but but his is so mild he only hears it at night.
Oh.
Or just when it's quiet enough.
I mean, yeah, but I'm saying, like, okay, anyway, I don't know.
But also, a high-pitched whine is not really a great substitute for tinnitus, because it's the same thing, except the fridge is louder.
That's true. Very cool. For me, so
What have you been up to, Bryce?
Thank you for asking. I have really like gone in the deep end on competitive Spy Party.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
I'm pulling this up.
Spy Party is a video game.
Spy Party is a video game. It's a 1v1 multiplayer game where someone is a sniper and someone is a spy in a party. And you have to, as the spy, you have to do things in half of the people on the crowd are, hopefully they're Googling this and not checking Twitter.
And they're just like, God, what time is it? Yeah.
No, and so they run their own competitive league of Spy Party. And so they even have like prizes and the whole tournament bracket set up. And I've just been watching this. They're like high level Spy Party casts for the past like week, and it's cool, man. It is the most esport that I've been able to kind of stand. As esport games go, this one feels and has the excitement of like watching football because. And they have good casters for this, which helps out a lot, who are really knowledgeable at the game. And so, once you're like, oh, man, what's he going to do? He did all of the, like, invisible missions he needed to do. But now he's got to put a bug on the ambassador. And that's a hard tell. So when your guy does it, your character does an animation that no innocent NPC would ever do. They move their arm like this, or... they move their arm in a way that no other NPC would.
So the spies have objectives they have to complete on the map. They have to go around and complete these objectives, but they have to do so while blending into the surrounding NPCs. And if the sniper sees the spy and they go, "Oh, I can tell that you're a human person," then they shoot them and they win.
Oh,
I saw Video Game Donkey play it for 4 minutes.
Okay,
That's about it.
So when
I
Bryce
assume if you shoot a non-real person, you lose.
Then the sniper loses. That's right.
So when Bryce is talking about hard tells and soft tells, it's like, oh, there are some objectives that they can complete that if the sniper sees a specific action, then they'll know, that's got to be a human.
Right. Where they're like soft tells, where like NPCs will talk. And so some of the things that you do trigger the talking animation, which other NPCs will do. But then there are layers of that, of like, how do you, what are the things that you look for? What are the things that make someone suspicious? What are the things that a human is more likely to do than an NPC is more likely to do? They have a whole behavioralism method of like play where you're like, oh, would an NPC really go from one conversation to another conversation to another conversation? Like weird stuff, like trying to decipher an actual artificial intelligence.
Yeah, like behavior routines and stuff. And then there's also like a big part of the gameplay is like reducing your number of possible humans. So you'll have a total field, and you can low light people. So you can basically make them, their character looks darker. Like you put a 20% opacity black layer on them or something.
It's a low light, like the opposite of a highlight.
Yeah. Just so that way you can say, okay, this is a person I'm not even going to pay attention to anymore because something just happened that only a human could do, and this wasn't that person.
It's a logic puzzle. It's a timed logic puzzle, and it's all about perception and vision.
Do human players ever try and fake it out by like walking into a wall for a little bit?
No, but you have to be careful about what path you take. You have to be aware of when you collide with another character, what the AI would do in terms of bouncing and trying to path around each other. If you walk too close to somebody, you need to do like that arm move to. If you path it in such a way that you can hide that arm, that's going to be really suspicious. But is that better than doing a very visible tell and hoping that they aren't looking? That's sort of the interplay there.
And also some moments where like when an NPC goes to a group of people and they're like, I'm going to engage with this group of people and start talking to them, they walk in a specific pattern that is, the computer routes a pattern, they follow that pattern, and they land right where they need to be in this conversation. But if you're a human and you say, oh, I want to do that, and you end up walking to the spot and then missing the spot by a little bit and having to like readjust your character to be in the spot to say, I'm going to engage in this conversation, that could be a big giveaway, because the sniper could see that and go, oh, well, the AI would have just landed right on that
start or fix itself. It doesn't even fix itself.
Yeah.
Because it would do it right the first time. And so there are a lot of executional things like that where, you know, when you see videos of like people who like YouTubers playing the game, that's a very big tell is when they like stutter step, right? Where they stop and start and start. And when you watch the high level play, that stuff is all like smoothed over. They know where to start and stop. They know how to path stuff. It's really cool watching this stuff. And I think a lot of people won't do it. I think there probably isn't much, but it I think proves very well Spy Party as a legitimate esports competitive game.
Do you choose who you be, or is it random assignment?
If you're just playing the casual, I think you can pick the whole cast of who is in play and who has different roles. In the competitive mode, I think they can pick some roles, but I think it's randomized who their actual character is. It's very cool. I want to play it. I also have not played it. I've watched a lot of this game and still have not played it. I think I have a stream coming up on Friday that I kind of want to do, but I want to find someone who wants to play it.
Sure.
So that it's not just me trying to find randos, because I think the community, like they have a Discord and people look for stuff there, but I don't think the audience and the people playing it is enough for there to just be an open lobby for matchmaking, which makes it tough. So that's Spy Party. That's kind of what I've been really into. It was very funny because we do Cord Killers, and every week I have to like talk about something, you know, a TV show or movie, and I've had like nothing. It's been this for the past week. Any other off-topic stuff? Any other stuff? Okay. Well, this is the part of the show where we talk about plugs. Jacob, as the newest member here, we're going to start with you. Do you have anything you want to plug or promote?
John's newer than me.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Is newer than you. John.
Huh.
What would you like to?
I'm on Twitter. Look me up.
Skeptically Pwned.
Sure.
Okay, there we go. Jacob?
I'm also on Twitter, but I don't really use it. I've wanted for a while to start like actually using Twitter. So maybe I'll get around to it and then I'll plug it.
2020.
Yeah, we'll see.
2020. Let's make bad decisions. Brandt?
These are more real than David's death.
I think I explicitly didn't say plugs because I thought I would say them later to tee you up for that, and then I did not say plugs.
Fair.
So that's great.
Okay. You can find me on Twitter at Gatowag. That's GATOWAG, or Instagram at the same name, or Twitch at the same name, or just about all of the Modern Rogue Show social accounts are me as well.
That's right. You can find me on Twitter at Brightcast, BRYCAS. I do a lot of streaming here on the Twitch account, Night Attack, or twitch.tv/Night Attack. I also man the at Scam Nation Show accounts on Twitter and Instagram, so those are usually me. This show is called The Bizarre Briefing. We do it every month. You can find more at bizarrebriefing.com. You can find past episodes, show notes, time codes, links, all that sort of good stuff there. If you want to watch the video version of this, if you're a millennial and you need to watch the video version of this, go to youtube.com/scamstuff. That's also where we post the video version of this program. We try to record this at the end of the month. New Year's and stuff made it tough. We didn't talk about New Year's. Everybody have a good New Year's? Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
I was wondering if like it's a new decade, if that was going to be a big deal. And I realized that a millennia was transitioned into like in all of our lifetimes.
Y2K,
yeah. So I was like, oh no, it doesn't
Old
matter
hat.
at all.
Yeah. Old hat. Yeah.
But we can appreciate it better. We can appreciate it better than 20 years ago. Okay. So
I just worked during all the New Year's, so.
Yeah. I saw a bunch of illegal fireworks in downtown.
Yeah.
Oh, my neighborhood was crazy with fireworks.
Yeah.
No respect. Like at 11 p.m. and like it's like there's probably a baby in the area,
I heard some fireworks at like 2 or 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And I was like, I hate you.
A lot during the day of New Year's Eve also. Very early.
Well, also
that was the weirdest. Very early fireworks.
Around here, people do fireworks for all holidays.
That's right.
It's ridiculous.
That's right. New year, new us, but same old links and all that good stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will be back with a new episode next month. But until then, we're going to say bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.